When I was first asked to help with All America and seeing everybody in America prayed for by name and reach them, to be honest, I wasn't really that excited about it. I was working in the Caribbean at the time. It's a nice place to have God call you to. But I was really not interested in going back to a country that I'd grown up in, that honestly I had a bad attitude about. And I was kind of thinking, like, maybe it needs judgment. There is some messed up stuff that needs to be dealt with in America. And, this idea of going and trying to, see God's mercy, I kind of felt a bit like Jonah, like, do I really go and try to save this place that I had a bad attitude about? So I went into a prayer room where I thought would be a great place to go to sort out a bad attitude. And I said, Lord, you're asking me to help out with this All America initiative. I need to get a word. I need to get some clarity on what you've called me to do. And so I go front row, I'm sitting there praying, and I got this picture of this giant ship, and it was out on the ocean, and it was huge, massive ship, and it was vertical in the water, right? So half the ship was underwater, half the ship was above. And I don't know a lot about ships, but that's usually not a good thing. And so as I'm sitting there looking at the ship, I felt the Holy Spirit ask me a question. He said, do you believe I can right the ship? And I was like, okay. I'm like, well, I've seen some movies where that's the end of the movie, and that's the time where the ship usually doesn't make it. But I said, well, yeah, Lord, if anybody can, you can right the ship. And so then all of a sudden he asked me another question. He said, do you believe the ship can surge out of the water, land flat on it, and be better than it was before? I'm like, I don't know how that works. I'm like, I've never heard of that happening. And I'm like, all right, this is probably not a trick question from Jesus. So I'll just go, yeah, Lord, if anyone can do it, you can do it. You can do that. And I'm thinking through all just the logistics of that or whatever. And I felt him ask me or say this next statement to me, which was, Joel, this is my will for America. And I was like, really? And then he said, and will you bear the scorn of believing it? I don't understand what that means. I probably still don't. But the point is, I felt like he was asking me is, would I choose to believe that God still has mercy for America and that he wants to show mercy? And even in his judgment is his mercy too. But I was just gripped with optimism as I came out of that prayer room. I was convinced, and I still am convinced, that God has a desire to show mercy to America. And we can look at the circumstances and the difficulty and everything that's going on, and we can get a bad attitude sometimes and begin to think that we are God and we can just proclaim judgment and do all these things. But I really believe that he wants to show mercy and that he doesn't delight in the death of the wicked. And there's all these wonderful things as we read the Bible about him. So we want to be very careful about what we curse and what we say out of our mouth when it comes to a nation and a people. And as we see in the Bible, God deals in nations. It's his inheritance. It's what Jesus came for. And so I just want to encourage you today that if you're feeling like, man, things are going down the tubes, can it get any worse? And, feeling negative about America or your country or wherever you are, I want to encourage you to get God's perspective. And let's begin to speak that. Let's begin to align with that. And then we can truly be a part of what God is wanting to do versus the problem that he's trying to deal with.